One pendant. Two women. 15 years of secrets. When millionaire Robert Anderson's son points out a waitress wearing his dead mother's unique necklace, their comfortable world shatters. Some family treasures are meant to find their way home, even if they reveal truths that will change everything. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Robert Anderson sat across from his son at the upscale restaurant, checking his expensive watch. At 45, Robert had built an empire from nothing after his wife Sarah's death 15 years ago. Though surrounded by wealth, a void remained in his heart. "Dad, you're checking your watch again," said Jason, his 18-year-old son. "Are the investors that important?" Robert sighed. "This deal could mean expanding to 3 new countries, Jason. I need to be prepared." Jason nodded, used to his father's priorities. Since his mother died when he was just 3, business had become Robert's entire life. The boy barely remembered his mother, just her warm smile and the sound of her laughter. All he had were the stories his father rarely shared and a few precious photographs. A young waitress approached their table. "Good evening, gentlemen. I'm Emma and I'll be serving you tonight. Can I start you with something to drink?" Robert barely looked up from his phone. "Just water for now." "I'll have a lemonade, please," Jason said with a smile. As Emma turned to leave, something caught his eye, a small silver pendant hanging from a delicate chain around her neck. It was shaped like a half-moon with a tiny star at its curve. Jason's eyes widened. He had seen that pendant before. When Emma returned with their drinks, Jason couldn't help staring at her necklace. There was something familiar about her too, the shape of her eyes, the gentle curve of her smile. "Is everything okay?" Emma asked, noticing his gaze. "Your pendant," Jason said. "It's beautiful." Emma's hand moved to touch it. "Thank you. It's very special to me. My mother gave it to me before she passed away." Robert looked up from his phone at the mention of the pendant, but quickly returned to his emails. Throughout dinner, Jason couldn't shake the feeling that he'd seen that pendant before. Then suddenly it hit him. In his father's study was a photograph of his mother wearing an identical pendant. "Dad," Jason whispered urgently as Emma cleared their plates. "The waitress's pendant is the same as the one in Mom's photo." Robert froze, his fork suspended midair. For the first time that evening he really looked at Emma. The color drained from his face. "What?" Robert's voice was barely audible. "The pendant, Dad. It's exactly like the one Mom wore in that photo on your desk." Robert set down his fork carefully and turned to watch Emma as she served another table. His hands trembled slightly. "Dad, are you okay?" Jason asked, concerned by his father's sudden change. "That pendant was unique," Robert said slowly. "I had it custom-made for your mother when we found out she was pregnant with you. After she died, I looked everywhere for it, but it was gone." When Emma returned, Robert asked, "Excuse me, that pendant you're wearing, may I ask where you got it?" Emma touched it protectively. "My mother gave it to me. She said it was from my father, but I never knew him. She passed away when I was 13. "Your mother's name?" Robert's voice cracked slightly. "Rebecca Mitchell," Emma replied, confused by his interest. Robert's face showed no recognition. "I'm sorry to bother you. It reminds me of one I once gave someone special." After Emma left, Jason leaned forward. "Dad, what's going on?" Robert shook his head. "It's nothing. Just a coincidence." But that night Robert couldn't sleep. The pendant, so identical to Sarah's, haunted him. Sarah had died in a car accident 15 years ago. What if? No, it couldn't be. The next morning Robert made some calls. A private investigator friend owed him a favor. By evening he had information about Emma Mitchell. She was 20 years old. Her mother Rebecca had died of cancer 7 years ago. Emma worked at the restaurant to pay for college. Robert stared at the file, something nagging at his memory. Rebecca Mitchell. The name sounded vaguely familiar. He pulled out an old box he kept in his closet, filled with mementos from his earlier life with Sarah. Among them was Sarah's diary. With trembling hands he opened it to the last entries. What he read shook him to his core. Sarah had discovered that Robert's business partner, James, had been embezzling funds. She had confronted James the day before her accident. The final entry expressed her fear. "If anything happens to me, Robert needs to know the truth." Robert's mind raced. The accident that killed Sarah had never been fully explained. Her body had been badly burned. The identifying had been done through dental records. Then he remembered. Rebecca Mitchell had been Sarah's college roommate and best friend. They had lost touch years ago. The next day Robert returned to the restaurant alone. Emma was working again. "Emma?" he said when she came to his table. I'd like to apologize for my strange behavior yesterday. May I ask you something personal? Emma nodded cautiously. The mother who gave you that pendant, do you have any photos of her? Emma hesitated, then pulled out her phone. This is her, she said, showing him a picture. Robert's heart stopped. The woman in the photo wasn't Rebecca Mitchell. It was Sarah. Is Sarah older than when he'd last seen her, but unmistakably her? What was your mother's full name? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Rebecca Sarah Mitchell. But everyone called her Rebecca or Becky. Robert took a deep breath. Emma, this may sound incredible, but I believe your mother may have been my wife, Sarah Anderson. Emma stepped back, shocked. That's impossible. My mom was Rebecca Mitchell. She raised me alone after my father died. Did she ever tell you how he died? Emma shook her head. Just that it happened before I was born. She didn't like talking about it. Robert carefully explained his suspicions, that Sarah had discovered criminal activity, faked her death with Rebecca's help to protect herself and possibly her unborn child, and assumed Rebecca's identity. If what I suspect is true, Robert said gently, you might be my daughter. Emma shook her head in disbelief. This is crazy. Why would she lie to me my whole life? To protect you, Robert said simply. And maybe me too. A DNA test confirmed Robert's suspicions. Emma was his daughter. Further investigation revealed that James had indeed been embezzling funds and had hired someone to tamper with Sarah's car. Believing she had died, he never looked for her again. Sarah, pregnant and terrified, had turned to her friend Rebecca for help. Rebecca had given Sarah her identity and moved away. The real Rebecca had moved abroad. When cancer took Sarah years later, Emma was left alone, never knowing her true heritage. 3 months after their first meeting at the restaurant, Emma and Jason sat together in Robert's living room, looking through old photo albums. She looks happy here, Emma said, pointing to a picture of Sarah laughing on a beach. She was, Robert replied softly. Your mother was the most joyful person I knew. Jason put his arm around his newfound sister. I always wanted a sibling. Emma smiled through tears. And I always wanted a family. Robert watched his children, the son he had raised and the daughter he had just found, and felt the empty space in his heart beginning to heal. That evening, Robert closed a major business deal with international investors. As congratulations poured in, he realized the success felt hollow compared to discovering Emma. Aren't you excited, Dad? Jason asked, noticing his father's subdued reaction to the news. Robert glanced at Emma, who was wearing Sarah's pendant, now returned to its rightful owner. I've learned something important, Jason. Business empires rise and fall, but family is irreplaceable. The next day, Robert took his first extended vacation in 15 years. He, Jason, and Emma traveled to all the places he and Sarah had planned to visit together but never did. In a small cafe in Paris, Emma asked, "Do you think she would have ever told me the truth?" Robert considered this. Your mother did what she thought was necessary to keep you safe. She sacrificed her life with me to protect you. That's what parents do, they put their children first. Emma nodded, fingering her pendant. I wish I could tell her I understand now. She knew you would, Robert assured her. That's why she gave you the pendant, so that someday somehow we might find each other again. As they walked along the Seine that evening, Robert felt Sarah's presence in the gentle breeze. The pendant had indeed brought their family back together, a final gift from the woman they had all loved in different ways. Back home, Robert converted Sarah's pendant into a family heirloom, creating matching pieces for himself and Jason. The 3 pendants together formed a complete moon and stars, a symbol of their reunited family. Robert stepped back from day-to-day operations of his company, appointing trusted managers so he could spend more time with his children. The millionaire who had once lived only for business discovered that the fortune he truly valued was sitting across from him at the dinner table every night. Dad, Emma said one evening as they finished dinner, do you think Mom would be proud of us? Robert looked at his daughter, so much like Sarah in her expressions and kind heart, and at his son, who had grown into a thoughtful young man despite his father's emotional absence. She would be incredibly proud, he said. And so am I. The pendant that had once frozen a millionaire's heart had ultimately thawed it, bringing light back into a family that had been living in shadow for far too long.